Welcome to the Pearson Show's Personal Injury Postscript.
Hello and welcome back to Pierce and Shaw's Personal Injury Postscript with Chris Schaus. Chris is a Baton Rouge personal injury attorney who has been representing clients across southeastern Louisiana for more than 30 years. He began his career in insurance defense before founding Pierce and Strauss in 1992, where he now focuses on helping accident victims rebuild their lives with clarity, compassion, and strong trial advocacy. I'm Lisa Mosbey, and today we are talking about the kind of proof that can make or break an injury claim in Louisiana. Welcome, Chris. Thank you so much for joining me to discuss this today.
Thank you, Lisa. Good afternoon. I'm happy to be here with you. And I think we've got some interesting points to share this afternoon.
We certainly do. You know, Chris, when someone is in a wreck, what's the very first kind of evidence that they should try to get at the scene if they're able to move around?
Well, so we get that question a lot. It's almost a generational divide. Young people get out of the car with their phones and start taking pictures. Folks my age fail to do that and often fail to remember to pull their camera out at all. It goes further. It's very frustrating for me to talk with a prospective client. Did anybody stop? Oh yeah, a couple of people stopped and asked if I needed any help. Did anybody say they saw the accident? Well, one person did. And did you get their name and their contact information? No, I told them we didn't need anything and they could go on. And boom, what seemed like a clear accident scene turns out the other driver has a wildly divergent view of it, and we've thrown away the one eyewitness that we had. So that's a frustrating thing. If there are people there who know something about that scene, snap a picture of them, ask them their contact information or their phone number, snap a picture of their driver's license, or rather of their license plate, if they're in a vehicle there at the scene. Preservation of witness identities is really key. A lot of times people see it but don't stop. If they stop, they're at least considering helping. Find out how to get back to those folks and learn what they know. So that's a critical piece. And taking pictures. You've got a phone. Most everybody's got a pretty high quality camera in their pocket these days. Get pictures, step back from the scene. If the cars are still in their come to rest positions, step back and get a couple of pictures that set the scene and show the relative position of the vehicles. Sometimes folks are so close when they take a picture that you can't see much. Sometimes they're far enough back. So you might try a couple of different approaches there. But yeah, snap pictures, collect people's names and numbers. Anything that you think is vaguely interesting or might, that picture is free. Doesn't cost extra to take too many pictures. So don't be shy about that. Use the camera, ask people what their contact information is. Those are key.
Those are great tips. And we don't know what we need until we actually get into the case. So having everything photographed makes a lot of sense. And I know a lot of people, Chris, they think that the police report is enough. Why isn't that always the case?
I guess it's just from years of stories and experience and so forth. People have a lot of misconceptions about an accident report. Number one, our Baton Rouge Police Department is instructed to make sure that the parties exchange insurance information so they can at least start the claims process. They're not always 100% in getting that exchange affected at the accident scene. If you don't get that little half sheet of paper that gives the identity and the insurance information on the other driver, you're not going to be able to do anything until the police report comes out. Best case, that police report is 10 days after the accident. If your car's not drivable and you're fighting the rental insurance battle, it's much, much more convenient to have the insurance information early. And so that is something don't leave the scene without it. Getting back to the accident report. The accident report is made by an officer. Usually he's got a little bit, 40 hours typically, of accident investigation training. Maybe he's been working traffic for 10 years, or maybe he's just a couple of weeks on the job. The Baton Rouge Police Department, within the last couple of years, radically changed their accident reporting system, and they're all laptop generated now. Less of them get lost than used to, but it can still be a problem. They don't get turned in on time, or somebody leaves the force. So there can be problems with the accident report. It's not uncommon to find errors, mistakes of fact, mistakes of reporting, transposed information on accident reports. Sometimes people come in and they say, well, I was in an accident, but there's no accident report. We didn't call the police, or it was on private property, so there's only a private property incident report, various things like that. The accident report is by no means the be-all and end-all of accident investigation. It is simply a starting point. It's convenient when we have a good one. A lot of times we can tell a lot from the accident, but it's never the case that we can't make a claim if there's no accident report. Likewise, the accident report, whatever it says, doesn't control the liability decision, the trial outcome, or much of anything else. Many times they have mistakes, or they're incomplete, or somebody's provided incorrect information. We use them a lot. Sometimes we're working to support them. Sometimes we're working to correct them. So the key there is don't read too much into your accident report. It's not the end of the investigation. It's not the end of the liability determination. It's just a first impression of whatever officer happened to be dispatched to the scene.
And I know, Chris, we've covered 1 and 2, the big ones. Get the pictures, file an accident report when it's possible. What are some other evidence items that end up being critical once a case moves past the initial report? Things that most clients never think about.
There's a handful of things that kind of come up time and time again. In Baton Rouge, we have terrible traffic problems. We have a pretty high accident rate. We're in the midst of a 10-year interstate reconstruction project. So pretty good bit of accidents here. And folks, I guess, don't know what to do after that accident. If your vehicle has a problem, don't ignore that problem. Get it by that neighborhood shop and ask them about that noise, or the way it's pulling, or driving differently, or your brakes feel different or something. It's important to get an outside opinion on that. Get a note from them. Even if you don't repair it, take it in, get it inspected, and have them write you a note that says, we think, this is from your brakes, or this may or may not be related to your accident. Those things change over time. Same with medical. I wish it wasn't the case, but every year we have 2 or 3 clients who, I was in an accident. I'm busy right now. I haven't been able to get by the urgent care, so I haven't gotten any medical. And 3 or 4 or 5 days later, boom, they're in a second accident. And at that point, you really have tremendous problems with proof. Just a quick 30-minute exam from whatever doctor or PA or NP is working at the doc in the box, the urgent care, that is invaluable. It's an independent witness. It's a trained, typically an expert witness. It's certainly a trained medical professional. And so when we have that, and that person can say, I saw Miss Smith on this date. She reported she'd been in an accident and she had these findings. When the second accident comes, we can distinguish between the two and the injuries and so forth. And instead of being at the mercy of 2 insurers who say it was all from the other accident, we have actual evidence to fight that fight. So And of course, you tell people that, and they're like, yeah, what are the chances of that happening? Nobody believes that's going to happen to them. It does happen. It happens as to property damage, and it happens as to injuries as well. And so, you know, well, I didn't get all the evidence I needed at the scene, or I haven't had a chance to. You can still preserve your rights. See that doctor, get a quick report. I know you can't, in Baton Rouge anyway, you can't get in to your primary care doctor on short notice, but you can get in to the urgent care. There's plenty of them, and they're specifically trained for that quick assessment. And it makes a tremendous difference. It's $100, it's 30 or 40 minutes, maybe an hour. It makes a huge difference, and I really encourage people to preserve their evidence and preserve their rights.
And sometimes those medical conditions don't show up for 2 or 3 days after the adrenaline stops pumping. The bruises start to show up. So having baselines, I'm sure, makes sense as well. But how important is timing altogether, not just in the medical reporting, but in other factors? Can waiting even a few days to collect evidence hurt the case down the road?
We're always concerned about that. Let's see, we're 4 days from the start of hurricane season. And that's a wild card for us. Physical evidence changes, the roadway changes, the accident scene changes. We get into flooding and all sorts of things and problems like that. So that's a big one. We had a slow year last year. We've had some years where we deal with 3 or 4 or 5 storms in a hurricane season, and we deal with accidents out of all of those storms, and they often present very, very strange fact patterns and very strange concerns. I can still remember after Katrina, one of my old law professors coming to me. He was a witness in a hit and run accident in the hurricane aftermath. And thankfully, because he did come forward and he identified himself, we were able to resolve that claim. But because of hurricane chaos, there was no accident report, and there would have been no claim, no witness. This was a large commercial truck in heavy post-storm hurricane conditions. So, it's best to get the evidence as early as you can. Get it at the scene. But because you pulled away from that scene doesn't mean stop thinking about it, stop being concerned about it. I tell people all the time, oh, really? You filmed it all? You have it on your phone? Great. Is your phone backed up to the cloud or anywhere else? No. Well, please, let's not have that. Let's not lose everything that way. So that's a key thing. Send it to somebody, email it, back it up. Save what's on your phone, so if something happens to your phone, we don't lose that treasure trove of evidence that you have there. You spoke of delayed onset of injuries, and of course that's a very human and common phenomena. A very common injury that we talk about a lot, we litigate a lot, are spinal injuries, disc injuries. It's very rare for those disc injuries to manifest fully in the first days or even weeks. That's something that happens over several weeks or a few months, could be 6 or 8 months. I generally, when folks come in, I say, hey, watch for these things. If you see these, I can't take a gallon of milk out of the refrigerator. My grip is weak, or I notice I'm stumbling. Those are often signs of neurological injury. And so I want folks to notice any unusual characteristics, symptoms, pain, any of those things, and to watch that really for several months after that accident. And we talk about that in our meeting. We'll talk about that in some detail and sort of the mechanism of that delayed onset.
Speaking of medical conditions, medical records and treatment notes count as evidence as well. What do people often get wrong about documenting their injuries?
There's kind of 2 schools of thought on that. And really, I guess what I want is for folks to kind of stride the middle path. a lot of people, maybe it's a male thing, but I don't think it's entirely limited to males. That wasn't a big deal. I'm not worried about it. I didn't mention it to the doctor. This is all about objective documentation of what is happening, what has happened to you, and what you've sustained, what injury you've sustained. And so many folks say, oh, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, my neck was hurting, but I didn't take off and I didn't go see anybody. Well, what you're saying is I was careful to make sure there was no evidence of injury. Evidence is what builds these cases. I guess some folks are very busy. Some folks nobody likes going to the doctor. But the point is, you've got this problem. If it's 2 or 3 weeks of soreness, okay, you just sort of beat yourself out of that. Failure to get treatment, well, maybe it's going to be more likely to be chronic because you didn't get treatment. But that's how a herniation, an annular tear, some of those serious injuries, that's how they first present. And so if you ignore it and you don't report it and you don't treat it and you don't document it, then your diagnosis is going to be delayed. The slower your diagnosis is, the slower your recovery is, the longer your problems go on. By failing to tell the doctor accurately what's going on, you tie his hands and he's not able to deliver his best results to you. So that's a key thing. The other thing is folks say, well, I just went and told him everything. How much does it hurt? Oh, it's a 10 out of 10. Where does it hurt? Everywhere. Well, that's not helpful information. It's a frustrating thing, and maybe I'm getting ahead of us a little bit, but some folks act like getting their medical treatment is like taking the car for an oil change. I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to be involved. I dropped it off and I picked it up. It doesn't work that way. You need to be actively engaged in your medical care. You need to communicate well. You need to read your doctor. You need for him to know that you're paying attention and you're engaged. He's recording, he's making his notes. We want accurate information and really a full picture. And that includes, my neck hurt before this accident, but now it's different. Here's what's changed. If you have a pre-existing condition, tell him about it. Tell him how it's different now. Take an active role. Don't drop your body off to be repaired and pick it up when it's finished. Communicate with him. It makes a difference that we can tell in the chart notes.
And Chris, if someone didn't gather good evidence right after the crash, is it too late later on? What can a lawyer still do to build the case?
Oh, we do. We spend a lot of time and effort and energy on gathering evidence. So yes, that's a key piece of the work that we do. Sometimes we get it from witnesses. Sometimes we can get it from a deposition of the officer. We can get things he observed but did not put in the report. Sometimes we get it from historical weather records. We have databases where we can see when it was actually raining on January 2nd, or when sunrise occurred or sunset that day, or when some particular weather condition was documented. Likewise, we can get to old camera footage, records, maintenance records on traffic signals and things of that nature. That's something that we do, is pull the traffic signal diagrams to compare a witness's reports with what the records show happened. So yeah, late gathering of evidence is a key function for attorneys' offices and something that we work at pretty regularly. Get in as quick as you can, I mean, it is fairly common. For years, Louisiana had a 1-year prescriptive, liberative prescription statute. You had to file suit on your accident within 1 year. We just recently stretched that out on most claims to 2 years. But Lisa, I can't tell you how many times folks come in, no, my 1-year anniversary is not till tomorrow. That's why I came in today. Okay, well, we can get something filed, but we don't have much time to gather any evidence.
No.
Yeah, get in early. More time to get the work done and get the ball rolling.
Chris, I want to thank you for unpacking this. You had some really great tips, things that I hadn't heard before. So I'm sure there'll be some tremendous value for folks who are listening to this episode. Thanks so much for your time today.
Well, thank you, Lisa. It's been a pleasure to talk with you.
And thank you for listening to Pierce and Strauss Personal Injury Postscript. If you've been injured in a car, truck, or motorcycle accident in Louisiana, don't face the insurance companies alone. Visit pierceandstrauss.com to connect with Chris and his team. Be sure to like, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who might need it today. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.